We could be waking up to some very different news than today. Right now, we're counting down to the first Democratic showdown as we get brand new polls on the presidential race. Hello and welcome to Happening Now, everybody. I'm Jenna Lee.
I'm John Scott. We are live in Las Vegas, the scene of tonight's first Democratic debate, where the stage is set with one podium left empty, just in case Vice President Joe Biden, who still hasn't decided on a White House run, decides to show up. This as Democrats in the race gear up for their first face-off, and we get a look at some new polls on the Democratic field. They show, among other things, that Hillary Clinton is losing support as the Democratic nominee preference. She's down 16 points since June, while her challenger Bernie Sanders and the still undecided Vice President Biden gain some ground, 10 and 8 percentage points respectively. Joining us now, Eric Fernstrom, former senior advisor on Mitt Romney's 2008 and 2012 presidential campaigns. Chris Kofinas is former communications director for John Edwards. Welcome to both of you. Chris,
Thank you.
To you first, do those numbers, should the Hillary Clinton campaign be nervous?
Well, if you're a smart campaign, you're always nervous. It's just the way you kind of have to approach things. I mean, just the way you have to approach things. I mean, she's still got a commanding lead. You know, her numbers have clearly fallen. You know, I can tell you, I think there are some challenges they have to address. You know, I'm in Des Moines I was doing focus groups, pre-debate focus groups last night with, Iowans. And I can tell you from that one group, they love her experience. They love what she's done, and they clearly think she's ready, but there's just not that connection there yet. Sometimes that takes time, but they just don't feel it. And I'll just give you another quick, insight. What we saw in contrast with, Senator Sanders, they have a lot of, concerns about his age and whether he's really a Democrat. But when it comes to the power of his message, it was really striking to see. His candidacy may have a ceiling, but his message doesn't. And I think that's why you're seeing this race to be a little bit more unpredictable than many pundits and others thought probably 6 months ago. But
Eric, you've got in Senator Sanders, you've got a Democratic socialist in the race. It is said that he is pulling the party to the left, and all of the candidates on stage are going to be vying to appeal to the leftmost edge of the Democratic Party. Do you see it that way?
Yeah, I think that's true, John. Look, if Joe Biden does get into the race, and by the way, you're never more electable or popular than that moment right before you become an official candidate. But let's say he does take the leap, and I've yet to hear a good rationale for his candidacy other than, he's going to take advantage of Hillary Clinton's weakness. But if he does get in, I don't think he'll recognize the Democratic Party. As you point out, Bernie Sanders is the surging candidate who's drawing the biggest crowds out on the campaign trail. I think all the energy and the passion in the party is coming from the far left. Really, the radical Occupy Wall Street activists are the ones that are supplying Bernie Sanders with all of this energy. Maybe the best rationale for a Biden candidacy is that he's going to run to rescue the party from the fringe. That could be, by the way, an opportunity for one of the other candidates on stage tonight, maybe Jim Webb. I'm betting some money that Jim Webb is going to make an appealing case for his candidacy tonight for that very reason, that he is more of a centrist and the party is sort of spinning out of control to the left.
Well, based on some numbers I'm about to show you, he might argue that he would run to rescue the party from Hillary Clinton. And here's why I say that. Because according to the Fox News polls, just hot off the presses, if the election were held today, Hillary Clinton loses to every Republican candidate you see there on the screen. She loses 50 to 39% to Ben Carson, 45 to 40 Donald Trump. Bush, she loses 44 to 40%, and Carly Fiorina even bests her, 42 to 39%. Now, you take Joe Biden's numbers, and Biden pretty much reverses everything. Biden leads Trump by 13 points. He tops Bush by 5 points. If I'm a Democratic voter and I want another Democrat in the White House, do I look at that, Chris, and say, look, Joe Biden has got to be my candidate?
Well, I mean, I think you always have to take polls this early out with a grain of salt. I mean, I just don't put a lot of stock into them. That being said, with respect to the vice president, I don't know whether he's going to get in or not. Clearly no one does other than maybe he and his family. But there is an opportunity. I can tell you from last night, there were folks that were open to it. And then we played, the draft Biden ad that talks about the loss of his wife and his daughter. And it had such an emotional reaction with the folks in the group that some of them were literally crying. And then it literally changed the dynamic of how they felt about him getting into the race. And so I think he has an opportunity. But it's not going to be enough for him to run and say, I'm going to be Obama's third term. He'd have to define a clear, distinct vision separate from the president. And the other part to it is just a logistical reality. Time is running short. If you're going to run a presidential campaign, and anyone who's ever done them knows how difficult it is, you can't wait much longer. There's just a reality to setting up a campaign that makes it difficult starting this late.
Eric, we've had a number of Republican debates already. We're about to have the first Democratic debate. Is it possible that the debate in any way hurts the party, that people start paying attention to some of the issues and where the candidates stand, and they start liking the Republican approach more, or is this going to be a win-win for all Democratic candidates?
Well, I think debates are a good thing, but this is the day that Hillary Clinton has been dreading. I mean, there's a reason why her campaign has tried to keep a lid on the number of Democratic debates. It's because they know from internal and third-party polling that people don't trust her and that she doesn't come across as a real person. This is a problem for her. They would much rather present her as a fait accompli to Democratic voters. Tonight, people are going to tune in and find out what the alternatives are, and they may just like them. And by the way, the worst place to put a candidate, if you're trying to make her more authentic, is on a debate stage. I know they have no choice in this matter, but the timing couldn't be worse, because the candidate is just up there giving rehearsed answers to questions. I'm sure their team would much rather have Hillary Clinton making pancakes on the Today Show. It just goes to show you how much is on the line tonight for Hillary Clinton.
All right. Eric Fernstrom from the Republican side, Chris Kofinas from the Democratic side. Good to have you on. Thanks.